Hi, today we are going to do a demo of some of the string methods from the string class. So before we get started, just wanted to review some of the main methods that are available. There are two substring methods, length, char at, index of, and last index of. So a substring method will basically just return or give back just a part of the string. The length method will tell us how many characters are in the string. Char at will get us a certain character at a spot, and index of will search for a character and tell us where it's at. So we're going to go ahead and demonstrate how those are used. So in my program, I'm going to start by creating a string. So we're going to call it string sample equals, let's just, I love computer science, just to come up with a string. So we've created a string, and that is the string that we're going to use. And if you recall from the notes, it talked about how each character in the string resides at a certain index or spot, starting with 0. So capital I would be in spot 0 of the string. The space then would be in spot 1, the L in spot 2, etc. So if I want to practice some of my string methods, let's just do the easiest one first. Let's say I want to find the length of the string. And so length is just going to return how many characters are in that string. That's an integer, so anytime these return something, we need to store that value. So if it goes and it counts how many characters are in the string, we need somewhere to store that. Hence, we need to create a new variable. So we'll say int len for length equals, okay, so my string object's name is sample. And then what do I want to find out? What method do I want to use from the string class? I want to use the length method. So my string object is sample, and the method that I want to call is length. And this will find me the length of the string. So we'll just test that out, and we'll just have it print. The length is and just to kind of do a quick run and test of this, it's going to output the length of this string is 24, meaning that there are 24 characters in this string, and that includes all the spaces and the period at the end. Anything inside the quotes will count. So now let's say I want to find the location of a character. And that is going to be by using the .indexOf method. And what that method does is it just returns at what spot a character is located. So this again is going to be a number. So I can say int loc for location equals sample dot index of. Now the question is, which character do I want to find the spot of? So that's actually going to be what goes in the parentheses. So let's say I want to find out where the O is. So I'm just going to put an O in quotes, and it doesn't have to be one character. It can be a string of characters if you would prefer as well. So I could search for the word love, and so I just put love in the quotes, and it would just tell me where that started. So I'm going to go ahead and print that value out just so we can see that as well. So when I run this one, you'll see that O is in spot 3. So let's go ahead and count. I is at 0, the space is at 1, the L is at 2, the O is at 3. So it gave me 3 as it should have. So a couple questions that come up here. There's 2 O's in this string. Well, index of will only find the first one. And then the next question that might come up is, what happens if I search for something that's not in the string? So for example, let's say I search for an exclamation mark. I know that that's not in the string, and I run it. It's actually not going to give you an error. but instead it's just going to output -1. So -1 indicates it's not in the string. And as a side note, that's a really useful method for some of your upcoming labs eventually, where maybe you're doing something where you're trying to find out where things don't occur. And then you can do an index of, and you know if it's -1 that it didn't occur in the string. Okay, so let's just hit 2 more real quick. The next one is, let's say I want to find the character at a spot, at a certain location. So now I'm actually going to be getting a character, and this is the first time that we've looked at a new variable type, and that's a char. So char find, we'll say, equals sample dot index of, and then let's say I want to find, or I'm sorry, not index of, my bad, char at, and let's say I want to find the character at spot 4. And then that, when I run it, will then return whatever's at spot 4. So we'll go ahead and print this and run it. And if you want, you can put the character at spot 4 is, and then that way we know what the output is. And it tells me that this character at spot 4 is V. So it's literally looking for index 4, returning what's located there. The last one, the last method that I want to talk about is a really important one. It's the substring method. And that will return for you a portion of the string. So there's 2 different ways to do the substring method. One is where you only use 1 number inside the parentheses, and one is where you use 2. So let's do the 1 number first. So we're going to call this string part 1. And it's going to equal sample.substring. And the reason I'm creating a string here is because it's going to get part of a string, which would still be a string. And if I say .substring 4, and I only put a 4 in the parentheses, that's going to mean that it's going to start at 4, and it's going to return all the rest of the string after spot 4. So just to test that out as well, we'll have it just print that substring. And we'll run it again. I like to run it after each one, just so we can see the new piece. So you can see that it returns VE computer science. So that just means that it starts at spot 4 and it gets everything else to the end of the string. Okay, the last substring one is used probably the most, and sometimes people get a little bit confused with it to start, but we'll make sure we try to go through this a little bit. It's going to have 2 numbers in it, and you can see in the little shortcuts down here, it's telling you beginning index and end index. So where do I want to start and where do I want to end? So let's say we want to start at 4, and I want to get, let's say I want to get the VECO, okay? So V is at spot 4, E is at 5, space is at 6, C is at 7, O is at 8. So you'd probably think we're going to put in 4, 8 for that. However, and I'm just going to go ahead and do the output here so we can see it. However, this substring method has a little bit of a rule with it, and it says that when I do substring, I'm going to start at 4, but I'm going to go up to and not include what is in spot 8. So if I really want the character that I also want to include whatever's in spot 8, I actually need to go to 9 instead. So when we've run this one, we're hoping to get VE space CO. So it's starting at 4. The O is actually at spot 8, but when I use the method, I want to make sure that I go 1 beyond. So that's just a quick overview of some of the main methods that you can use from the string class. Couple things to notice. Notice that in each one that I use, I take the object's name, so the string's name is sample, and sample is used every time to call the method from the class. So dot length will give the length, index of will find where something's located, char at will return a character at a certain spot, and then substring is going to get parts of the string. So you always need the name of the string that you're working with, dot, and then whatever method works for what you're trying to do. Notice that all these methods return something, so I need to make sure that I set them equal to variables that would be capable of storing what they return. So length, for example, is going to be a number, so I need to store that as an integer. Char at is going to send me back to character, so I need to store it as a char. So that's where the stuff on the left here is coming from, is basically giving me a spot to store whatever info it's sending back. So that's a quick overview of your string methods, and you'll have a chance to try those in your upcoming assignments.